Hi, my name is Ann Guiney. I'm the executive director of the Institute for Urban Design based in New York, and I'm here with Ned Kramer, the editor-in-chief of Architect magazine, and Cathy Lang Ho, who is one of my board members at the Institute. And we are collaborating on the American Pavilion at this year's Venice Biennale. The Venice Biennale is probably the foremost architecture festival in the world. 53 countries, 170,000 people show up over the course of 3 months in what's absolutely an extraordinary setting. And we're incredibly proud to be representing the United States for this project, and we wanted to tell you about it. So we teamed up. The Institute applied to the State Department, which made the selection from a number of different applications, and we've chosen, instead of looking at the work of one or two architects, to say let's look at what is the really widely happening in the profession, and we're going representative of the times and the sort of political tenor of the times to look at tactical urbanism, a very ground up, a very socially engaged practice. Cathy?
Well, just to tell you a little bit, the title of the exhibition is Spontaneous Interventions, Design Actions for the Common Good. And as you can imagine from the title, the content is rich and filled with a lot of things. We're also featuring 124 projects, and I know that sounds like a lot of projects to cram into a 3,000 square foot building, but we're presenting the projects as an archive, and really the decision to present a lot of projects rather than a few was just to show the richness and diversity of these types of actions. And the actions we're looking at are projects that were initiated by architects, as well as designers and planners and everyday citizens, to intervene into the shared, the public urban realm, and to bring direct improvements to their surroundings. And so what we're really commending here is the act of acting, because a lot of architects have projects that they, well, let's put it this way, architects have kind of long been known for coming up with solutions to problems that nobody's asked them to solve, right? But what we're really celebrating is the fact, the people actually rolling up their sleeves, going out in the world and making them happen, whether that means trying to find their own funding, bankrolling them themselves, going on Kickstarter. But I feel like, the move from an idea to actually making something happen is something that we're commending.
Sure. I mean, it's all about working within the margins to create something of use to the public. And what's really remarkable about it, too, is the way, when I look at the way this movement has come out of architecture along with other fields. First of all, it's interdisciplinary, right? So you have artists, you have engineers, you have architects, you have planners, you have everyday citizens all working to improve the public realm. And it comes out of, in a way, the kind of DIY movement. So it's not just renovating your kitchen, it's renovating the cityscape. It's renovating your own street. It's addressing needs for green space in your community, addressing deferred maintenance problems in your community in ways that are incredibly creative. And what a wonderful way for a young architect who may be faced, thanks to the recession, which never ends, with maybe limited career opportunities. So suddenly an architect who would have, right out of school, gone to work for a major firm or a well-known architect, established a career through that kind of apprenticeship relationship, now is effectively serving as their own mentor. They're part of a larger community of urban activists who are coming together and saying, I'm going to skip the traditional route, the opportunities may not be there anyway, and I'm going to directly engage with the built environment myself.
One of the extraordinary things about putting together this show is the range of the work that people have been submitting, and discovering that all over the country, and it's not just on the coast, which sometimes people will say, oh, it's just you folks in New York, you're the only ones who care about this. It's everywhere. It's Cincinnati, it's Cleveland, it's Tulsa, it's across the board. And that's really, really exciting. But what's so typical is the extraordinary range from a bunch of kids, some of whom who are working at firms, just ganging up together and really responding to specific needs in their neighborhoods. So it can be as simple as passing a vacant lot every day on the way to work and starting to imagine what could that be, what wonderful potential is there, and ganging together and starting to reach out and say, let's make this into something. To consortia of firms, larger firms, much more traditional and established, who are also saying, we really want to engage with the specific problem that we're seeing. So it's very exciting. Cathy, can you give us some examples of some of the projects that are in the show?
Well, like Anne said, the range is huge, and it goes from anonymous guerrilla bike lane painters, guys who put on ski masks and by the cover of night and paint bike lanes where they feel they should be, and they're tired of waiting around for the city to do them. And those are some of our favorite projects. Guerrilla gardens that go way back, but also other interesting uses of vacant land, like Anne says. In this economy, we have vacancies, but not just vacancies of the sort that you had with shrinking cities, which were smaller, but you have crater-sized lots that were that are left mothballed indefinitely as a result of the financial collapse and the post-real estate boom. And so in place of these, you have architects then finding a way to convince developers and cities and community groups to lend these pieces of land temporarily to the community to become art parks or to become a pop-up market. So, for example, in San Francisco, there's a project called Proxy by Douglas Burnham, who leases vacant land from the city and has made it into a kind of outdoor living room with now a beer garden and a place for food trucks to park. And he's a good example of an architect who took advantage, who saw an opportunity, a problem, an urban problem, vacancy or underutilized land, and saw a way to actually make it into an economic opportunity. And he's our example of an architect as an entrepreneur who's kind of parlayed himself into the role of developer, because he actually collects rent from the pop-ups that he has on this site. So that's one good example. And Anne's absolutely right. There's a lot of young architects who, out of school, and Ned mentioned this too, have a difficult time finding meaningful work and then are designing projects themselves. But it's something that big firms can do too. We have a project by HOK in San Francisco that looked at kind of disused kiosks, because people are buying newspapers less, so you have these unused kiosks, and trying to figure out what other uses might be made of them. And so, so bike fix station or other kind of uses. And what else do we have? We have David Rockwell. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I mean, there's David Rockwell. I also think it's fun to mention some of the more creative, off-the-wall, and maybe non-architectural examples.
Sure, yeah, they're very inspiring. Yeah. God, what are our favorite ones? Well, we have the range of projects. They cover all types. They're landscape, urban farming, let's see, recreation, and so they're really all over there. But we have a good range of projects that are also information projects, and also more exercises in community building. So even if they have spatial, if they're manifested in a spatial way, the main point of them might be really community building. So, for example, City Repair in Portland, it's a group of neighbors who've come together to basically transform an intersection into a plaza by painting it. And so it seems like it's about slowing down traffic and making a place safer, but in the end, it was really a community building exercise. You want to talk about Candy Chang, maybe?
We're working also with an artist and activist named Candy Chang, who has an extraordinary project, and all of her work is united by the idea of how do you get people really engaged in the process of rebuilding their cities. So she's taken name tags, the hello, my name is, tweaked it a little, said I wish this was, and put them all up on vacant buildings in New Orleans, taped up a pen on a string, and came back the following week to say, what do people want? Is it as a skate park, a 7-Eleven, everything in between? Sometimes people put visionary things, and sometimes they say something incredibly practical, like a grocery store, which is a really important thing in a lot of these neighborhoods. So it's been extraordinary to work with people who are bringing so much energy to to practice. But Ned, one of the things that's really been interesting for me to think about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, is how is this going to filter up to affect more traditional practices too, and just sort of bigger firms? Because I believe it does.
It's begun to happen already, whether it's through a commitment with the AIA, public architecture. John Peterson spoke here at Architect Live earlier today. Firms more and more are either in a formal way through the 1% solution in public architecture, through their own pro bono commitments, are beginning to both initiate practice and projects on their own, or dedicate a certain amount of staff time to serve underserved communities, identifying nonprofits in their communities that might have particular social needs. And you see this focus on kind of serving the greater common good at the same time that one is trying to pay the bills, work for a developer client, as something that is captivating at every level of professional practice in the United States. So young practitioners, established practitioners. Effectively, what we're talking about is kind of the reawakening of the social conscience of the profession. Not that we haven't always believed that we served humanity as a profession, but that effectively, if you think about the roots of the modern movement itself, we're kind of born out of the desire to serve humanity, to drive the betterment of the less advantaged classes, through the Bauhaus experiments and so forth, and that's really coming alive again in an amazing way.
And in the spirit of the show, which we issued an open call for projects, we want as many people with as many different projects and viewpoints to get involved. And so please go to our website. It's the Institute for Urban Design, www.ifud.org, and there's lots more information. It's going to be really exciting, and come to Venice, or we'll bring it back to the States and talk more.
And for regular updates, sign up for our Twitter feed. What is it? S_interventions. And you'll get regular updates on our progress and, lists of participants and information about just how the exhibition design is shaping along. And I just want to say that, to mention our exhibition designers, which is Free Cell, this wonderful studio in Brooklyn, is designing the exhibition, and Interborough, which won the Young Architects Award at MoMA PS1 last summer, and they're designing an intervention in the courtyard. And in addition to the exhibition, we're also planning a host of interventions in and around the pavilion and in and around Venice during the 3 months of the exhibition. So hope you guys make it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.